Okay, so Tony, you okay to present now?
Yeah, absolutely. I did some prints. You've got a version that's in black and white, but I've printed some color. But I don't think I've got enough copies. But if I just hand them around. Exactly. Yeah. Just get half of it and yeah. Oh, thank you. And one of the really important questions.
All right, guys, Tony, take it over there, please.
Oh.
They're just getting a hand in there. Sorry, Tony.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Just make sure you don't have that.
Has everyone got a copy that they can read? Beautiful.
Careful there, Sammy.
Yeah. Oh. One of the really important questions that I've got from Brian is, how do you work better with the architect? Sometimes that when you're on site, and you've got some drawings, and you've got some lighting conditions, and hey, it's not going to work, and you try to call the architect, and the architect goes, well, you'll be able to work it out, and they don't come to site. Has anyone get that sort of questions before, or any that sort of problems before? No? I'm finished. No. All right, so assuming that you've got that question, this is what this presentation is about. The architects, I've been working as an architect for 9 years, as a project manager for 9 years as well in the council. One of the things that I always hear when I was working as an architect is overhearing from people just sitting next to me, other architects, would say to the customers things like, your builders aren't reading the plans correctly, or they're saying the information is actually on the drawings, things like that. Does anyone think that the architect may say that to the client at all? No? Maybe? Yes? Yeah. Sometimes the architect will say that to the client.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're listening. Sometimes the architect may say that to the client. I only say that not because we want to get you to fight with the architect. What I'm trying to say is there's a difference in opinion. And when you try to convince someone, and you're trying to convince the architect by saying, Mr. Architect, your drawing is incorrect. Now, as an architect, I'm probably not going to take that right. Now, as an architect, I don't think that I'm comfortable to take that advice. So, you've got to understand the people that you're trying to convince, and it's both yourself and the architect, trying to convince is the client. It's important that you know how to talk to the client and get that support from the client so that it's coming from yourself and the client asking the architect for the information that you need on site. Oh, get that understood. Is there any questions at all up to this stage? No? Good. Okay. Well, the next part of my presentation, section 2, is about trust. How do you build trust with the client? The 2 reasons why the client normally trusts the architect a little bit more. First reason is they spend time with the client more. Time equals trust. Imagining if you've got a friend who you know for the last 10 years, and let's say if you're going for a movie. This person, whenever you are right there in the front, paying for the movie tickets, they're always one step behind you. So you know that when you hand the notes over, you're paying for both tickets. That person, even you got that person, anyone got that person in their life? Even though you know that they are not the best person, because you know them for 10, 15 years, you trust them a little bit more. Time equals trust. The client has spent 6-9 months with the architect going for the concept design, develop design, those documentation process, it builds trust. Therefore, often the client listens to the architect a little bit more. When the architect says, oh, the drawings has got all the information in there, it's natural that the client just trusts the architect a little bit more. That's the first reason why the architect has got more trust from the client. The first reason that the client has trust the architect a little bit more is because the architect appear more organized. Yeah. Don't know whether you sort of picked that up, but we actually pay for being organized. We actually pay people that looks more organized than we are to get us to be more organized. I mean, I'll give you an example. Let's say when you get home at night and you're hungry and you open the fridge and you look at the fridge and you go, some cheese, some fruits, some looks rotten. The next thing that you do, you go to the restaurant. Now you're coming from a disorganized state. You're going to the restaurant, and after you leave the restaurant, you're a little bit more organized, and you pay the restaurant for it. You get home, you look at the fridge, and you go, let me call the cleaner. And then come in, clean your fridge. Now you're more organized, and you pay them for it. Yeah? You pay for organized. The architect looks a little bit more organized than you, so that the client trusts them a little bit more. That's two of the reasons, the key reasons why I see the architect get more trust from the client. So knowing that, what do you do as the builder to try to get as much support as possible from the client? I've put it into two steps, and the first one is the dynamics of it, and the second one is the mechanics of it. Mechanic is like the steps that you go through to build up a little bit more trust. Now, let me just rephrase it. If you've got an architect that's working perfectly, like you're asking questions and they're providing you answers, don't worry about any of these steps. You're doing really well. Yeah? But if you've got an architect that at times, like bad situation, the drawings aren't perfect, they're not responding, what do? The first part that I was talking about, dynamic. Dynamic is how you work with the customers. How the day-to-day, how yourself, like Brian has got his own way to work with customers, Ben has got his own way to work with customers, I've got my own way to work with customers. The best way to improve your dynamic is, well, let me explain. Buy a small notebook, keep it in your pocket, and every single time that you've got a positive thing that happened, you don't think like when you go to a room and you walk into a room, 2 or 3 people not happy. You do some sort of magic, 10, 15 minutes later, you leave the room, these 2 or 3 people's really happy. Now, how did you do that? I don't know. But you take your little book out, you write that down. Just make sure those happy thoughts, the positive thoughts are actually recorded in there, and you read them through once every day or 2 days. You only spend 5-10 minutes on per day, but all those positive means positive emotion in there. And when you deal with your customers, those confidence actually comes up. Your dynamic will improve when you work with your customer that way. That forms the fundamental of my next step, which is the mechanic of how you work with the customers to build the trust. I've put it in 5 steps. If anyone got pen and paper, please write this down. I call that my IBEAM method, I-B-E-A-M.
What's that? I-D-E-A-M?
I-B-E-A-M. And it's 5 steps how you build trust with your customers. It's an acronym of 5 words. The first word, I, stands for invite the clients. Clients with an S at the end. Why do I say that? Now, imagine that you win the project, you got these documents in front of you, you are asking the architect questions, and the architect is not responding that well. What the customer will be interested in, and I'm sure the customer will be interested in, is they want to know a little bit more about how you're going to build the project. Yeah? How each step by step you're going to do it, where the risk is going to be, and what you do at this point. You tell the customer, hey, why don't you get all your people, the husband, the wife, the uncle, the auntie, the daughter, anyone who's quite vocal, hey, get them to side. Let's do a pre-start meeting. I'm going to walk them through exactly how we're going to do it. and where the risks are, where they need to be involved. Yeah? Invite them, say that to them, invite them to decide. I'm sure your customer is going to say, yeah, no problem. I'm going to get my customer, my wife, my kids, my whoever, just everyone to come to meet you. The next step, B, stands for brainstorming. Brainstorming their needs. Now, as a project manager, when I brainstorm with the stakeholders, there are 120 different stakeholders in the council. So that brainstorming means kitchens, size of bedrooms, etc. No, none of that, none of that. No, don't write that down. Thank you. You are going to brainstorm, Mr. Customer, Mr. Client, what do you need that I do to support you through the process? So that whatever you need to do, like if you need to report to the grandparents, the daughter, the son, the bank for finance, for example, when do you need that information? How do I support you? You brainstorm that with all the people that comes to your site for that initial meeting. So you've got the list of things at the back of the envelope. Now once you get that list at the back of the envelope, the next step, E stands for, what that stands for? Electing the client. Now remember the first step, I was saying clients. Clients because there's so many people in the client side who wants to have a say. Electing the client means just one. There's one person, who's making all the decisions. The rest of them are stakeholders. Now you need to explain to them the client is the decision maker. All the other people, you can influence the client, but if the client says right and everyone else says left, as a builder, you will go right. Explain that, step back, and let them talk amongst themselves and elect the client. Now, if they can't do that, if they go, no, I actually have two people that are really important, what do you do at that point? Any ideas? Look, if you've got a customer like me, and my wife, Polly, when my wife Polly says, add an extra bedroom, I probably
The
don't
wife's
say
the boss,
yes.
that's it.
Well,
The wife's the boss always.
all right.
You might think you're the client, the wife is.
I know. For me, you don't have a problem because whatever Polly says, I will say yes. But there are people who are there that the uncle is important, the auntie is important, the grandparents is important, and they can't make a decision. And if you're in that situation, you know you are going to lose quite a bit of money doing the project. The architect has already lost quite a bit of money doing that project because that is very important to sort out before you even start on the design. As a project manager, it's very important for me to make sure that happens before we even start designing. So if you're in that stage, when you got the contract and it's ready to build, and the customer still couldn't find out who is the decision maker, you've got a problem. Yeah? Call Tony, call Brian, or just explain to the client, guys, I can't proceed if you are like that. So go away, make some decisions, and come back. But assuming that you've got the client, and I think 99% of the time you will have the client, the next step is A, which is activate the client and the stakeholder. Activate means you take action. Yeah? Now, how do you do that? You look at the client, that's the decision maker. You explain to the client, I am going to get some decisions from you. The rest of you are stakeholders and you can influence the client before the client makes that decision. You've got the list at the back of the envelope, which is those brainstormed items. And you sit down with the client right there and you go through it with them. Now, this part, now we're starting on the excavation. It's going to be the builder who's doing it. Is that okay that the builder's doing it? Yeah, surely the client will go, yeah, sure. And you tick. And next bit, after the excavation process, we are very much in the base stage. You will need to pay. I will start preparing some documentation for you. Is that okay with you? Yes? Once I prepare the documentation, you will need to take that to the bank and organize those payments. Is that okay? You go through it that way and you start assigning the responsibilities, whether it's for the client, whether it's for the builder, and if it's something that's for the architect, you actually say that to the customer, the client, and let them know it's the responsibility of the architect. There's some risk in here, but when you start demolition, there are no asbestos in the drawing. You explain to the customer, the architect hasn't allowed for any asbestos in here, and it's normal because you can't allow for asbestos everywhere. By contract, look, put yourself out of the picture. It's always the architect designed it that way, and therefore your subcontractors, your boys, your tradies, hasn't allowed for the asbestos. Now there could be risk in there, and if it materializes into problems, it becomes something that client you need to look at, and you need to deal with it accordingly. However, as a builder, I'll provide information as quickly and efficiently as possible. So explaining it that way, and by doing that, looking at the client all the time and ask the client for that decision, you activate them so that in the future, when you've got a problem and you pick up the phone, ask the client, they know they are the decision maker. Yeah? So that's the step of A, activation. The last step is M, and that is maintaining. You maintain sending out the report, sending out a summary, make yourself look as organized as possible. Because if you look organized, you will gain trust from the customer. Now, those things that I hand out to you, the first page is, you can see a brainstorming list. All it is you put down all the things that you brainstorm and the client agreed. At the end of that whole meeting, put that down, and then next to it, whether it's agreed that it's the client, it's the architect, it's yourself, you put all those cross in there. You send it out to the client, now you've got organized. And you've got a record of what needs to be done at what stage. The next page, that's like a weekly or fortnightly report that I kind of draft. It doesn't need to be complex, it can be just really simple. In that report, you can see that the dates, the address, that's all you need to do, and it's quite consistent in every single report. There's a column in there that's got a few photos. The column size width is all fixed. I can send you that. And all you need to do is, when you're on site, take tons of photo. When the subcontractors is on site, take tons of photo, put it in your OneDrive, whatever, share account. So all you need to do is get those pictures, put it in that report. On the bottom columns, it's called remarks. It's the information that you want to provide to the customer. So you write a few notes, you tell them what happened in the last 2 weeks, what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And then send it to the client. And if what's happening in the next 2 weeks means the architect may need to be involved because of some risk that you're seeing, put it in there on the right-hand side on that column and say architect. With that, send it to the client. It means you've communicated. It means you look organized. It means you look sharp. It means you need some more trust from the client. That's my presentation. It doesn't look like architecture. It's more project management. So on the third page, what's important in there is I want to know the questions that you have, because in the future, if I can provide more information, I want that to be valuable for you. So like if you have any questions about architecture, project management, anything, thanks. If I don't know that, I may do some research. If I can't provide those information, I'll just hand it to Brian and go on.
Thank you very much, Karen. Fantastic. Thank you.